Rescue operation continues in the Italian waters after a migrant boat sank, which resulted in several casualties. Afrobarometer latest survey unveils that most Gambians lack trust in their local councillors. Well, stay tuned for more details. And thousands of Zimbabwean citizens in South Africa may be repatriated back home amid concerns of proper documentations. Well, this and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching The World Today News live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. And we begin this news bulletin with migration matters because search and rescue operations continues in the Italian waters after a migrant boat believed to be from Turkey capsized on Sunday, resulting in many casualties. Now, about 80 people were rescued from the tragic accident of the wooden boat that was carrying about 200 migrants after they were abandoned by the traffickers. Now, the recent boat accident has since rekindled the migration debate in Italy. Here's more details of that in this report.
On the coast of Gambia, divers are continuing their search for the remaining victims. Suddenly, a rescuer spots a body between. Earlier in the morning, the corpse of another migrant had drifted ashore.
This morning they pulled another body out. It was placed right there. This victim will be added to the other 63 already found. The search, though, continues because there's still several people missing. The images I've seen will never get out of my mind. Trust me, it's not easy. These are unforgettable memories.
80 people have been rescued alive since the migrant boat sank on Sunday in heavy seas near Steccato di Cutro, a seaside resort on the eastern coast of Calabria. The boat had set sail from the port of Izmir in western Turkey. Around an hour before the small wooden boat crashed, the engine reportedly started smoking. One of the survivors told investigators that 3 traffickers then inflated a dinghy and left the boat, abandoning around 200 people, knowing they were in imminent danger. Rescuers say most of the migrants came from Afghanistan as well as from Pakistan, Iran, Somalia and Syria. The worst migrant tragedy in years has reignited the debate on migration in Italy, where the recently elected right-wing government's tough new laws for migrant rescue charities have drawn criticism from the United Nations and others.
And from that unfortunate report from Italy, let's come back home now because barely 2 months to the much talked about upcoming local government elections in the country. An Afrobarometer Round 9 survey reveals Gambians' dissatisfaction with the performance of their local government councillors. The Afrobarometer report indicates that 59% of Gambians give their local government councillors a negative performance rating, while only a few citizens think that their councillors of course try to listen to what people say, but only about a quarter of the respondents report have contacted their councillors during the previous year. Our reporter Mariama Cham tells us more of that in this report.
The recent Afrobarometer 9 survey reveals that a majority of Gambians express a lack of trust in their local government councillors, and with some alleging that most councillors are corrupt. The Afrobarometer team in the Gambia, led by the Center for Policy Research and Strategy Studies (CEPRIS), interviewed 1,200 adult citizens of Gambia between 30th August and 19 September 2022. A sample of this size yields country-level results with a margin of error of plus or minus 3% points at a 95% confidence level. Previous surveys were conducted in the Gambia in 2018 and 2021. The Afrobarometer revelations may not look good in the eyes of most of the councillors, as the next councillorship elections are due in April. The survey, however, further reveals that about 1 in 10 Gambians, which is equal to 39%, said that Local government councillors never try to listen to what citizens have to say, but only 23% said councillors often or always listen. Presenting the report, Mr. Lang Sanyang, a researcher at CEPRAS, explains in detail the findings of the citizens' views on the local government councillors.
Corruption among local government councillors. The respondents were asked, how many of the following people do you think are involved in corruption? Or haven't you heard enough about them to say? Local government councillors are the ones we are looking at. 7% said none, which means they think that they are not corrupt. And you have 52% that is saying some of them. And 23% believe that most of them are corrupt. And 10% all of them. And we have 8% who are not sure or they have not heard about it. Most or all local government councillors perceived as corrupt. You can see the trend. In 2018, it was just what? 19%. But today, that's last year, 2022, it had increased from 19 to 33% of people thinking that all or most or all local government councillors are perceived to be corrupt.
Fatou Jain Senghor, an independent expert in human rights and governance, commended Afrobarometer and its partners for the initiative. She said the survey shows that Gambians are conscious of their rights and what they want.
From the discussions and the research, we've seen clearly that citizens in the Gambia have changed. They know their rights. They know also what they want. They want a consolidated democracy. They know the importance of freedom of expression and access to information. It is also clear from the research that they are concerned about the lack of accountability of their leaders and also the overall, issues of corruption. What we are seeing also that, yes, it is reflected in the reality because there are no mechanisms. We have a law on access to information, it's not yet implemented, so hence the gap. So yes, citizens know it is important to have information, but they cannot exercise that right yet.
Madam Jain Senghor also urges authorities to rely on the data to improve policy making. Afrobarometer is a pan-African non-partisan survey research network that provides reliable data on African experiences and evaluation of democracy, governance and quality of life. 8 rounds of surveys have been completed in up to 39 countries since 1999, and around 9 surveys are currently underway. Afrobarometer conducts face-to-face interviews in the language of the respondents' voice. With elections approaching, many believe such surveys are good in order to improve citizens to elect competent and hard-working leaders who shall steer the affairs of their constituencies and wards. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Now, elsewhere in the continent, Somalia's pharmaceutical industry has recently registered a significant breakthrough as the country's maiden pharmaceutical factory produces, of course, 1 million tablets of medicine per month, thanks to the partnership with some Turkey investors. Now, amid this landmark achievement, the producers plan to expand their operational activities to minimize the import of medication. Now, Somalian citizens have also welcomed the move to resume the local production of medicines. Let's have more details of that in this report.
With just 3 months in operation, Somalia's first pharmaceutical plant produces about 1 million doses of various tablets per month. The project is part of various healthcare partnerships between Somali and Turkish investors in order to revive the medical industry in the country.
We have got a tableting and a capsule line at the moment in terms of manufacturing. Our capacity as a manufacturer is sufficient enough. We're producing and manufacturing around 1 million tablets every month. For example, the last 3 months, we produce a lot of tablets in the country. Our plan in the future is to, at the end of the year, we want to expand and start manufacturing syrups as well as the injectables and salines.
Somalia imports almost all its pharmaceutical products after the few local production sectors closed following breakout of the conflict in early 1990s. Now, with the revival of manufacturing, quality is very important.
We do various procedural tests to ensure the quality standard of the products. For example, we perform identification test, physical test, uniformity test, pharmaceutical test, and weight evaluation test. All this is done because it is for human consumption. After the process is complete, it is packaged for marketing.
Consumers have welcomed the locally produced drugs, saying it saved them time and resources.
We used to spend a lot of time and resources importing some of the medical products you see here. Now they are produced here at our doorsteps. We just order them and receive them in the same day, with less costs incurred.
The government of Somalia says it is working to strengthen legislations on drugs and medicine as it encourages investment in the much-needed sector.
You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And from that inspiring medical report there from Somalia, we now take a break and come back shortly.
Africa Global brings you state-of-the-art commercial and retail spaces available for rent at Madiba Mall, located at the Proofwood Gardens Estate. Our commercial spaces comes with facilities such as 24-hour security, standby backup generator, air conditioning, shared conference room, and personal cash pour meters. If you are looking for a spacious and suitable business environment, look no further. Madiba Mall retail and commercial spaces are just what you need. Ocean View office spaces with limited availability. Call us today and secure a space. For more information, contact 733-3363 or 594-1053 or email at info@tapafricaglobal.com.
Welcome back, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And once again, many thanks for joining us. And let's now look at the rest of the stories. Now, February 24 marked 1 year since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of neighboring Ukraine, leaving 18 million people in need of humanitarian aid and protection. The war has entered its second year, and Russia is still showing unwillingness to abandon what it calls a special military operation in the European country. And let's have more details of that in this report by Moses Amen.
Russia's troops are still not holding back in battling to seize control of the key Ukrainian cities. Amid strong resistance from the opponent's forces more than 1 year since it began a full-scale invasion of the European country. Both Russia and Ukraine shared the spoils of the war and suffered grave human costs while cities run aground as diplomacy and negotiations fall short of a peace deal due to a lack of cooperation from the Russian government. According to the latest media reports, Russia has stepped up a new attack on the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut, with fighters trying to cut the Ukrainian fighters' supply lines to the city to force them to subdue. The attack, if successful, will give Putin his first major victory in more than half a year and open the way to the capture of the last remaining urban centers in the Donetsk region. Ukraine's military is, however, resolute in its resistance against the Russian army, saying it repelled more than 60 enemy attacks and its forces also prevented attacks on villages to the north of Bakhmut. According to a Ukrainian military analyst, Ole Zidanov, the southern part of Bakhmut is the only area that can be described as under Ukrainian control. He said, the situation is unpredictable in all the other districts. Volodymyr Zelensky also revealed that the situation in the city is getting more and more complicated and that Russia is constantly destroying everything that can be used to protect Ukraine. Ukraine has again found itself in a precarious circumstance like it has on so many occasions in the last 12 months. But the United States is showing support without engaging. The U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was in Ukraine where she held talks with the Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, after which she revealed that the U.S. will provide nearly $50 billion in security, economic and humanitarian assistance, and announced another multi-billion-dollar package to boost the country's economy. U.S. President Joe Biden also recently paid an unannounced visit to Ukraine in a show of support and said Ukraine stands strong and Moscow will never defeat it. The EU and the US have employed sanctions and trade barriers to weaken Russia's position, but Russia has proven time after time that it will not be stopped by such tactics. For Eyeafrica News, I am Moses Imendi.
And from that report there by Moses Imendi, on to our final story next. Because after several failed attempts, thousands of Zimbabwean citizens living in South Africa could finally be repatriated back home amid permit-related issues. Now, the over, of course, 100,000 affected Zimbabweans have since begun expressing their concern over the situation. Now, despite their significant contribution to the South African economy, Zimbabweans are usually being accused of involving in crimes and taking jobs of the South Africans. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Lizweg Wembu was one of the first Zimbabweans to be granted asylum seeker status in South Africa. Wembu fled political turmoil in Zimbabwe in 1997 when the economy took a turn for the worse.
We couldn't even feed the families, couldn't pay our bills. Life was tough. Like everyone else, some were going to the UK, some were going to Botswana. We decided to come to South Africa because the relatives were here. It was going to be easier to be here.
Wembu doesn't have the critical skills. South Africa is looking to secure a work permit. He's decided to return home before his documents expire in June 30th this year.
It was a very difficult decision. Remember when I say I'm almost 20-something years here, my kids were born here, we've been here for long, and now taking the family back to, especially the kids, it's a new place, it's a new country, new culture, new everything. It's very difficult.
Almost 180,000 other Zimbabwean exemption permit holders who considered South Africa home are faced with a similar dilemma.
It is difficult for a person of low skill, say a person who's a domestic worker, a petrol attendant, someone working in a supermarket as a packer, to say what the requirement should be.
Zimbabwean nationals make a valuable contribution to the economy, but they are often accused of being involved in criminal activity and taking away low-income jobs from South Africans. Despite this, many desperate to stay in the country are anxiously awaiting the outcomes of 2 cases in April before the High Court.
People are worried. They don't know what is going to happen. There's a court case coming in mid-April. They do not know whether the court is going to rule in their favor or it is going to rule in the favor of government.
The Zimbabwean government is anticipating the return of tens of thousands of its citizens as the June deadline looms. Harare has offered to assist those going home to restart their lives.
And that report there from South Africa now eventually brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and do have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.